big to fail or too dumb to survive. Bank bailouts are a big part of the financial reform bill being negotiated on the Hill today, but some say the rules regulated the system are a nightmare. Rules so anti-business that we risk banks fleeing the U.S. for more business-friendly shores. Others, like my next guest, say, hey, regs are important, but you know what? Depositors of failing institutions need to be protected too. But we will bring in Congressman Ron Paul first from Texas. What's going to happen, sir, if we have another financial meltdown? Will the bailout boys in D.C. ride again? That's the biggest risk, after all, isn't it? That if the economy turns down, sir, they're going to say, yeah, we have financial reform, but we better bail out these institutions.
Well, I think we will likely to get some type of financial reform. It's not there yet. But I don't think they'll eliminate the bailout provisions. They'll talk about other things. They're going to talk about smarter regulations, and they're going to be talking about more power to the Fed. They haven't talked a bit about Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. But they can't regulate out of existence the mistakes that people make once you get the information from the Fed with an easy credit system. So, yes, I don't think if we have another downturn. I think we're in the middle of a downturn. I think maybe the admission of our problems is a little bit less. But, you know, the bankruptcies are still there. The housing excesses are still there. And they will bail out. I mean, that is the purpose of the monetary system. The Federal Reserve exists to be the lender of last resort. It's not going to, abandon that philosophy. So, yeah, expect it. Expect the taxpayers to get hit. Expect the people who try to save and be frugal and still have a job. They're the ones who will have to pay for the people who gamble. And the people who did gamble made money on the bubble formation. They're the ones who got bailed out. So in a free market, the people who gamble and lose, they really lose. They don't get bailed out. So I think the too big to fail is still going to be there, and the philosophy of bailouts, it has not changed one bit.
And now, Congressman, we're lucky that some of the money came back into TARP. I mean, some of the banks paid back a portion of the TARP with interest. The problem I'm having here, sir, is all this money is sitting there. Now, it could go several ways. It could be given back to the taxpayer. It could be used to pay down debt, because God only knows how much China is into us for right now. They can almost pull the strings here. Or it could be used for small business. What would you say we should do with all that money that comes back into TARP?
I'd write it off the debt and get on with the business of business. And that's what we need to do. We need to liquidate debt. We need to reduce debt. We need to get rid of the malinvestment. And we've done everything possible to prevent that from happening. If you or I go bankrupt or have trouble, we have to spend less, work harder, and pay down debt. Sometimes we have to declare bankruptcy. But a country says, oh no, the Paul Krugmans of the world say, what you need to do is spend more money, get more debt, print more money. I mean, they're obsessed with that. And it means that this will prolong our agony. We're doing exactly the same mistakes that we did in the 1930s. So this worry about a double dip, I think, is missing the point. I think we started dipping a good many years ago. I think we've been dipping for nearly 10 years. The standard of living has gone down. We've had underemployment. True and unemployment right now is probably closer to 20%. So we're in a big mess, but they're still not telling us the truth about how bad it really is.
All right, Congressman Paul, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. All right, some say get big government out of the way. No bank is too big to fail. Let them go. Judge Andrew Napolitano is here. Judge,
Eric,
is any institution, bank, car company, I don't know, suit maker, too big to fail?
No, not by the government's estimation. Anybody who invests their money should bear the consequences of an inappropriate investment. That's the free market. Question, where has there been greater prosperity? Where there's central planning, where the government provides a safety net, where the government makes choices for you, or where there's individual investment, the opportunity to gain, and enduring your own risk? It's not even a close call. Congressman Paul is right on the mark. But the mentality in the government is that they will provide a safety net even when they claim they're not providing a safety net, because the president said this is not too big to fail. If you read it, it is too big to fail. It's got the $19 billion cushion in there, whether it comes from taxes or whether it comes from TARP.
Let's talk about it. The CBO estimated that this whole reform bill would cost, just to implement, and I'm guessing bureaucratic offices, people working in offices, $21 billion. Where's the money coming from?
Well, originally the money was going to come from a tax on the banks, which of course would be paid either by the shareholders of the banks, mom and pop and pension funds, or by those of us who utilize the services of the banks. Apparently some so-called Republicans have insisted that that which is a tax is not a tax if you don't call it a tax. Therefore, we'll take TARP funds and let that pay for the operation of this monstrous bureaucracy. Where did the TARP funds come from? From bonds that the government sold to the Federal Reserve. Stated differently, from money that the Federal Reserve printed and gave to the federal government that has to be paid back. So they can call it whatever they want. It's money that has to be paid back.
Judge, is there anything, or was there anything put in place for the money that came back from TARP, all the banks that were getting their shares back, giving the money back to the government? Did we make it understood that that money was going to be used for a certain reason?
No, and here's why. You remember this, and most people watching us now remember this. TARP was sold to the Congress as a program whereby the Treasury would buy toxic paper, toxic mortgage-backed assets, and some hard assets as well, to prevent massive clogging of credit and massive foreclosures. They didn't use it for that. Instead, they used it, the government used it in a way inconsistent with what Congress said, to buy preferred shares of stock from banks that wanted cash and from some banks that didn't want the cash. They didn't expect that the money would come back, so the legislation is ambiguous about what happens to the money that comes back.
This is a big bill, Judge. This is a massive bill. One of the things when we had this thing looked at was it ends too big to fail bailouts. It's in there. Congressman Paul said it's not going to be there in the final package. Why would it sit here so long, and then when this thing goes to a vote, a final package, a final decision, it evaporates, it goes away? How does that happen?
Because Lyndon Johnson used to say two things you never want to watch being made are sausage and legislation. We know why you don't want to watch sausage being made. Legislation is not logic. It's not morality. It's not the law of economics. It's not even the law of physics. It's politics. It's horse trading. It's what do you have to do to get certain moderate Republicans to vote with the liberal Democrats to take away freedom of choice in the economy, and this is an example of it.
Very good, very good.